qui a créé chaque mur, ces barricades et béton. Aurait-il peur de la nature, la rage, car il a oublié qu'il en faisait partie. Des harmonies profondes, mais dans quel monde la colombe est partie? La rage d'être autant balafré par les piquants des normes. Et puis la rage, ouais la rage d'avoir la rage depuis qu'on est mort. On restera debout quoi qu'il arrive, d'aller jusqu'au bout et de là on veut bien nous mener la vie. On pourra plus se taire ni s'asseoir, dorénavant on tiendra prêt parce qu'on a la rage, le cœur et la foi. On restera debout quoi qu'il arrive, d'aller jusqu'au bout et de là on veut bien nous mener la vie. Rien ne pourra plus nous arrêter, insoumis, sage, marginal, humaniste pour révolter. La rage, parce qu'on choisit rien et qu'on subit tout le temps. Et vu que leurs choix sont bancals, et ben tout équilibre fout le camp. La rage car l'irréparable s'entasse depuis un bout de temps. La rage, car qu'est-ce qu'on attend pour se mettre debout et foutre le bouc? La rage, c'est tout ce qui nous laisse, tout ce qui nous reste. Car combien des notes finiront par retourner leurs fesses? La rage de vivre et de vivre l'instant présent, de choisir son futur libre et sans leur cri d'oppression. La rage, car c'est la merde et que ce monde y adhère. Et parce que tout leur chant OGM stérilise la terre. La rage pour qu'un jour l'engrenage soit brisé. La rage car trop lisse, vérité sur leur écran télévisé. La rage car ce monde ne nous correspond pas, nous nourrissent de faux rêves pour placer nos remparts. La rage car ce monde ne nous correspond pas, où Babylone s'engraisse pendant qu'on crève en bas. Parce qu'on a la rage, on restera debout quoi qu'il arrive, d'aller jusqu'au bout et de là on veut bien nous mener la vie. On pourra plus se taire ni s'asseoir, dorénavant on tiendra prêt parce qu'on a la rage, le cœur et la foi. On restera debout quoi qu'il arrive, d'aller jusqu'au bout et de là on veut bien nous mener la vie. Rien ne pourra plus nous arrêter, insoumis, sage, marginal, humaniste pour révolter. La rage d'y croire et de faire en sorte que ça bouge. D'un Chirac, d'un Sharon, d'un Tony Blair ou d'un Bush. La rage car ce monde voit rouge, mais de grisailles s'entourer parce qu'ils n'entendent jamais les cris lorsque le sang coule. La rage car c'est le pire que nous frôlons. La rage car l'Occident n'a toujours pas ôté sa tenue de colon. La rage car le mal tape sans cesse trop et que ne sont plus mis au bout du jour tant de grands savoirs ancestraux. Trop de mensonges et de secrets gardés, l'élite de nos états riches de vérité pouvant changer l'humanité. La rage car ils ne veulent pas que ça change, hein, faire garder leur pouvoir et nous manipuler comme leurs anges. À la rage car on croit aux anges et qu'on a choisi de marcher avec eux. La rage parce que mes propos dérangent, faut aux quatre coins du globe. La rage du peuple, l'ébullition, la rage, ouais la rage ou l'essence de la révolution. On restera debout quoi qu'il arrive, d'aller jusqu'au bout et de là on veut bien nous mener la vie. On pourra plus se taire ni s'asseoir, dorénavant on tiendra prêt parce qu'on a la rage, le cœur et la foi. On restera debout quoi qu'il arrive, d'aller jusqu'au bout et de là on veut bien nous mener la vie. Rien ne pourra plus nous arrêter, insoumis, sage, marginal, humaniste pour révolter. On restera debout quoi qu'il arrive, d'aller jusqu'au bout et de là on veut bien nous mener la vie. On pourra plus se taire ni s'asseoir, dorénavant on tiendra prêt parce qu'on a la rage, le cœur et la foi. On restera debout quoi qu'il arrive, d'aller jusqu'au bout et de là on veut bien nous mener la vie. Rien ne pourra plus nous arrêter, insoumis, sage, marginal, humaniste pour révolter. Anticapitaliste, altermondialiste, ou toi qui cherches la vérité sur ce monde. La résistance de demain, à la veille d'une révolution spirituelle. Rage du peuple, parce qu'on a la rage, elle qui fera trembler tes normes. Parce qu'on a la rage, a cru la populace et la rage est énorme.
In 1952, a secret organization known as the Black Chamber was reborn by executive order as the National Security Agency. It was tasked with code making, code breaking, and collecting foreign communications intelligence. 5 years later, the first man-made satellite was launched into orbit. More than 3,000 satellites are now in operation, carrying our phone calls, emails, and broadcasts. Listening to this massive flow of information is a multi-billion-dollar surveillance network, built by the NSA and codenamed Echelon. Every hour, unmanned computers scan through millions of intercepted calls inside the world's largest listening station. Only when Echelon recognizes a significant word or known voice does it notify its human operators. In the late 1990s, reporters obtained recorded evidence of the NSA's enhanced surveillance capabilities. These recordings proved that the NSA was able to listen through cell phones even when they do not appear to be in use. How the recordings were made and where they came from remains unclear.
In 2003, an AT&T engineer notices that the cables on the 7th floor have been rerouted, and a mirror image of all the traffic, both domestic and international, is now being sent to a secret room 1 floor below.
It was obvious that this was some kind of NSA installation. I figured out that what they were doing was a blind, wholesale copying of the entire internet data flow. And this meant randomly scooping up huge amounts of purely domestic data as well as international data.
When I hear the word wiretap, I've always imagined some person in a trench coat and a black hat and sunglasses skulking around after dark, secretly tapping into a wire and hoping that no one notices. But what they've done in that facility is, by full light of day, they've cut the fiber optic cables and then reconnected them in a splitter. What they have built is a facility that is capable of monitoring absolutely all data communication through it.
Brian Reed, a communications expert, has examined AT&T's internal documents that Klein provided. They show that the secret room contains electronic equipment specifically designed for signals intelligence. Equipment programmed to sift through millions of messages, searching for keywords like the ones Bamford sent from Kuala Lumpur.
The most curious piece of equipment in that room is a completely flexible monitoring system that can be told on a moment's notice, please monitor all conversation that contains the word hummingbird. Please monitor all conversation that goes to Mobile, Alabama. Please monitor all conversations that contain both the word hummingbird and go to Mobile, Alabama.
NSA has turned its giant ear to listen in on America.
Based on everything I know, I believe that there are between 15 and 30 of these secret rooms around the U.S.
The post-9/11 rules authorized NSA to listen in to Americans both inside and outside the U.S. without any special court approval.
After 9/11, we were essentially put in charge of a new system which intercepted satellite phone communications in Iraq and Afghanistan and surrounding areas.
Calls and data from the Middle East and North Africa and relayed to a listening post tucked in the hills outside Augusta, Georgia. As a voice interceptor, Adrian Kinney listened to some of those calls. Assigned by the Army to NSA, she was called back to active duty after 9/11.
For a voice interceptor, the computer system would essentially pop up, and it would be very similar, I would say, to iTunes, where you could just go through and click on various conversations, and it would have the phone number, the time up, time down.
Yeah, it's whenever we had a little barbecue.
We were told that we were to listen to all conversations that were intercepted, to include those of Americans and other allied countries.
Some of those conversations are personal, some even intimate.
And there was no directive to say that when you had conversations like this come through that you should delete them. That's what we did when I was on active duty in 94 to 98. we would never collect on an American. I had a real problem with the fact that people were listening to it and that I was listening to it. The time that the interceptor, that voice interceptor, is spending listening to conversations in the States, that's time that they can't spend looking or listening for actual conversations related to terrorist organizations.
As NSA began tapping into fiber optic cables as well as satellites, information began to flood in like never before. According to a congressional study in 2008, some intelligence data sources grow at a rate of 4 petabytes. That's 4 quadrillion bytes per month. The equivalent of 12 filing cabinets of new information for every American citizen every year. But what does it all mean?
Computers today tell people what things are. Here's some data that you asked for. They don't tell you what it means. So there is some work going on to try to marry the power of computers to the power of humans.
Specialized software can help extract important information based on context and meaning. Dr. Robert L. Popp does advanced research on these kinds of programs, known as classifiers.
Say you wanted to build a classifier for Al-Qaeda, the concept Al-Qaeda. The way it would work is you as an analyst would go find all these documents, whether they're emails or things on the web or whatever, but all these documents that in your judgment are narratives associated with the concept of Al-Qaeda.
In the future, by refining the software and harnessing enough computing power, these classifiers could potentially reduce the mountain of information human analysts have to examine.
So the next frontier may be, computer, do you see any unusual associations that I didn't think to ask you about, that I ought to have asked you about when it relates to a threat against the homeland?
NSA's signals intelligence operations.
NSA spends literally billions of dollars to obtain signals, to process them, move them from place to place without people knowing, to get them to an end user, a translator, who can make some sense of them and write up a transcription.